Namaste Krishna Rao, welcome to IYR Talks English edition. This time, I just want you to have the reflections on one issue that is going around for the last 10 days on the write-off by the banks from 2040 for the loans from 2014 to 2022, approximately about 14 lakh crores of rupees or so. So they say the government is writing off the banks, bottom line will be in problem and all that. So what do you think this banks write off, whether they are making a provision or completely writing off against the incomes every year and all that? There is subtle differences between write off, making a provision, and these are the things, and to which period these loans belong to, or whether these loans have been nowadays stressed assets, everybody will call these so-called unrecoverable assets. These stressed assets are sometimes, some banks are also selling these stressed assets to another agency for equivalent. Banks are trying to keep at least a portion of that to their advantage. I just want your reflections on this.
Yeah, I think this is a very, very misleading news that has come in the newspaper. As if this government, using its discretion, wantonly written off 14 lakh crores which are due to the banks. That's the way the news item gives an impression, which is wrong. Actually, write-off is a accounting process going on from a long time. So this write-off is when in the bank's books of account the repayment is not done 3 months, 4 months, or whatever is that period norms. There are certain laid out norms of the RBI.
Non-performing assets.
Yes. Then the bank concerned has no discretion. I mean, it's not a discretionary work of the board or somebody. They have to write it off. So in this write-off is going on even earlier also, and it's going on also now. So nothing new that has happened now which did not happen earlier, though the news item gives an impression as if it's a new thing that has happened during this regime. That's one point. Having written off, it doesn't mean they cannot be recovered. The recovery process goes on. Recovery process goes on simultaneously against them, against the guarantors, and then of course the whole legal process of NCLTA, insolvency proceedings, all this will grow on. That's one most important thing. Then if something has been written off after 2014 until now, more importantly, when were they sanctioned? That's important. I am sure most of them were sanctioned during the UPA regime, and they have become NPAs during this time, making it these bankers at this point of time to write off. So most of them are politically motivated loaning done on a large scale during UPA time, which has really put the PSU banks under a lot of stress and problems. In fact, after this government took over, that was a major problem. Most of the scheduled banks did not have funds to lend further. They were struck because these write-off norms were changed, if I am not wrong, when Raghuram Rajan was the RBI governor. He made it strict that there is no evergreening of the loaning. That evergreening of the loaning which was going on earlier, he stopped and wanted the books of accounts to really reflect the real problem. So that became a major problem for most of the nationalized banks which were earlier very happily evergreening these things and then going on not showing them as NPAs. So they were forced to show them as NPAs. From then onwards, this whole write-off business has come. And in fact, it goes to the credit of this government in the first 5-6 years, made a huge provision of thousands of crores to recapitalize the banks. Just because they have done on such a large scale recapitalization of the banks, today the banks have turned around and are again lending, and that's shown in the stock market also, the way the PSU banks shares have gone up.
That's and also the major between
and then a long pending proposal of merger which got stuck during the UPA regime because of the opposition from the unions. UPA government, when it was a coalition government, it has to oblige a number of constituents, and so it could not take hard decisions. But once after 2014, when this government got full majority, they went ahead and did the merging of the banks and make them more concise and better to administer. So these are a lot of good things that have happened for the public sector banks. So this write-off is not. And then of course, problem is, yes, when they have been hived off to this asset reconstruction companies and others, how they are being handled, whether they are really, they go with a haircut. So how, whether they are able to recover or not is a major problem. Yes, on that one has to keep an eye. And this whole proceedings of the NCLT and others in a lot of mischief can be done there. But it's a mischief where a judicial process is involved. So one has to be very careful there. I agree. That it's not without pitfalls. But just to sling mud on this government on this is not fair, because they have done a lot for turning around the public banks, and write-off is a non-discretionary activity of the government, not a discretionary writing off the loans, which is a misleading propaganda which is going on because of this type of motivated news items.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much for giving a clarity on the write-offs by the public sector banks, and let us see how the government is going to go forward in handling these issues. Thank you.